this year. Last year I was supposed to be able to speak here, but unfortunately due to circumstances well beyond my control, a failure, I had to cancel this as well as several other conferences, and I was really disappointed about it, because when I was in university in Canada, I'm Canadian by the way, so don't throw anything at me, I'm not a Yank, it was amazing because I was going through it, I was learning about ancient Greece, I was learning about ancient Roman culture and things like that, and it dawned on me I'd never actually been here when B-Sides came up, and I was like, well, this is a great opportunity, I'd absolutely love to, I can't make it. But I'm here this year, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk to you today. Now, the whole premise of this talk is actually built on a talk that I was supposed to give about 5 years ago, called Lessons Learned from Falling on Swords. Now, I've been in this racket now for about, heading up towards about 25 years, doing information security or computer security in some form or another. Now, during that time, I've made a lot of mistakes as I've went along. And the best thing about it that I've learned over time is each one of these is a wonderful learning opportunity. It doesn't feel that way at the time, but it certainly comes to that point later on. So that was the birth of this talk, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. So the first failure out of the gate is quoting yourself, which is a terrible thing to do, rather pretentious, but you know, I had to have some fun with it. And as we fail, if we don't take the time to learn from it, or at least share what we have gone through, others can't benefit from that. And I see time and again, I'll see data breaches where this, that, and the other thing happen. But at no point will the organization talk about actually what transpired. And it usually leaves us to guess as to what actually went down. Was it SQL injection? Was it this? There was a mobile network operator in the UK that was compromised, and it turned out that none of their data was even encrypted. Unfortunately, they thought, no big deal, but we all know how that ended up. And as we go through our lives, we see there's all kinds of signs. There is all these things that are there because somebody did something before you got there that required that sign to show up. Now, at one point, I used to live in the United States down in a place called Charleston, South Carolina. And while I was there, I bought a sunscreen that you put in your windshield so your car allegedly wouldn't get too hot. Never really worked out that way. But in the bottom corner, there was a little note that said, "Do not drive with this in place." Let that sink in for a second. Somebody, before I bought that, thought, hey, I'll drive with this in place. And this is one of those things where, failure is really something that we need to do a far better job of learning from. Now, when I was young, I was of a generation that the parents said, oh, kids are to be seen, not heard. That didn't work out so well. But it was really interesting growing up and now seeing the opportunities that we have to give to our children. It's really amazing. Like when I grew up, cave paintings were our way of communication. And now, for example, my daughter who just turned 9, when she was 5, she came to me with her iPad. And I love telling this story because she comes up to me and she goes, Daddy, I'm having trouble VPNing into the United States so I can watch a show that I want to see there. You're 5. I'm in deep trouble. And she was able to articulate network and security things that people in the industry that I work with who had been in the racket for 10 plus years couldn't describe in the same clarity that she did. So as the kids are growing up, and for example, we say the charity we were talking about earlier, giving these children a chance because for them, they're born into the internet. This is intuitive to them. And for a lot of us, and myself as one example, we started out, we had nothing. We had no manuals. There were no university courses. There were no training programs. We had to all figure this out by fumbling in the dark. So this is how it started for me. Remember back in the day, we had this wonderful flying toaster. That was always fun. Now, at that point in time, I had already created I'm a bit of a coffee freak. One of the things that really was interesting about this is, by the time this came out, I had already been duping video games with my friend in school for quite some time and selling them to other kids in class. Not a recommended activity, but we figured out how simple it was to do it. And then it came out with, there was copy protection, and then we realized we would snip a little piece out of the disk, and we're back in business again. And it was really interesting, it's just like that mentality wasn't so much of, how can I be a criminal, so much as poking at things to see how they work. And that, for me, is a lot of how the hacker mentality comes into play. Now, as we go forward in time, we see that things evolve and things change. And remember, at one point, this was on every blasted website that I went to on the internet. Unfortunately, it's still around today. And as we go through and we learn about these things and we learn and grow, we see all kinds of different failures. Like, for example, the word hacker has turned into a bit of a failure unto itself, and that is something that lies solely on ourselves. As security professionals, hacker to me means somebody with an innate curiosity, somebody who wants to go through and learn. Unfortunately, the media has taken that term and run with it and turned it into the person with the hoodie and the gloves tapping on a keyboard. Now, has anybody ever successfully managed to do anything of any import on a computer with gloves on? Exactly. I had to do it once, but that was because the data center was so cold that my skin was actually starting to turn blue. Now, it's really amazing when you're going through these sort of things and you're seeing this sort of thing. It's incumbent upon us to go forward and actually get the message across that hacker's not a bad thing. And hacker could be literally any of these people. Some of them repeat, apparently. But that's one of the things is that every time I see an image of somebody wearing a hoodie, it's like, no, this is not the image that we want to portray. The image we want to portray is anybody with any sort of intellect. Now, this is what I think of when I see a hacker. This is my friend Dave Kennedy. This was really interesting because the conference that I was supposed to give the original version of this talk, with Falling on Swords, he was actually, turned out, I was on the same agenda as him. We were both supposed to give this talk, and I missed my flight, unfortunately. But this was amazing. When I look back, excuse me, at the litany of people that were on this list to give talks at this conference, it was amazing. It literally has become, you know, the who's who of people that have become friends of mine and people that I work with on a day-to-day basis. And it was just a real missed opportunity for me as I went through it. And when I missed that flight, this is how I felt. I was absolutely crushed. I'm sitting at the airport going, okay, this is not the way I wanted to start off. This would have been my first talk that I had ever given. But it wasn't all that bad because the guys at Hackfest, they created what they called the B-Sides Dave. And I thought, okay, what is B-Sides Dave? And they actually went to the point of creating t-shirts. The whole point here was, after the conference, I couldn't afford a hotel at the time, so I was just going to fly home the next morning, and the first flight was at silly o'clock. So they decided they were all going to come with me and sit with me at the airport, and they sent me all the t-shirts. I have a box of these t-shirts back home, where they were all going to wear the t-shirts. We're all just going to sit around and hang out for the night. It was really interesting. So, when you make these sort of mistakes, you have to understand that that's not the end of the world. By and large, every time we make a mistake, it's merely a learning opportunity that we have to capitalize on. Nietzsche was one of my favorite ones for this. That which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. A bit of a cliche at this point, but by that definition, I'm probably going to live forever. Now, one of the things that he talked about was something called the eternal return. And the idea behind this concept was that we are destined to repeat everything in our lives over and over again. And it really sounds a great deal like information security in many, many ways. Welcome. But as we're going through this concept really occurred to me is like this is something that we have within our own ability to change, and I firmly believe that. If we take the eternal return and turn it on its side, we're able to actually become masters of our own destiny. And it really is time for us to actually take a hold of that and change it. Something as simple as the term hacker. I literally, whenever I do a media interview or talk at a conference, I prefer to use the term attacker simply because it shows criminal intent. Now, this is what happens when we make mistakes that we didn't have to make. For example, SMB version 1 is something that could have been turned off literally years ago. Granted, Microsoft came out with a patch in March of this year, and then that ultimately led to WannaCry being everywhere. And it was really interesting because it never had to come to this. It really is something that we didn't take the time to learn from. And unfortunately, for a certain auto manufacturer, they didn't learn from the lesson of this from several weeks ago, and they had to shut down one of their factories because they were compromised several weeks after this all had transpired. The really interesting thing about the WannaCry virus is that not so much a lesson learned as a sort of an innate benefit was that a lot of these organizations, for them, it was the first time they'd ever actually had data encryption in their environment. And you never know when you're going to need that type of data, when you're at that critical moment. And to be fair, you really should be taking the time to do proper security controls to ensure that all of your systems are going to be online when you need them. Now, when Nietzsche's talking about the eternal return, we have to learn how to step off of that return. If we don't, we end up doing the same things over and over again. WannaCry is a perfect example of something that didn't have to happen. And unfortunately, when we read about data breaches, so many times I'll see it's something that this could have been avoided. Another talk that I've been giving this year is about data breaches. Specifically, what I did was I went through 2016 publicly available data breaches, and I looked through the types of issues and things that had transpired in the documents. The vast majority of them were due to either missing patches or configuration issues, things that we could have fixed. And if we don't get in front of these things and address these sort of problems, we're destined to repeat them forever, and we will be immortalized for all time. Failure will happen. Being afraid of it is absolutely a waste of time. Being prepared so that you don't fail, learning from lessons from others, is absolutely a wonderful thing to do. This is how we get better. But when failure does happen, don't panic. Figure it out, learn from it, ask for help. We have a community of security practitioners, case in point, this entire room. If you have a problem that you can't navigate through, don't be afraid to ask for help. Because mistakes are going to happen. This is a great one. At one point in my career, I was working for the U.S. Department of Defense as a contractor, and one of my clients was constantly being attacked by a particular IP address in some place in the world. And it got to the point where they couldn't get through the firewall. I just got irritated one day. I didn't sleep well or whatever it was, and I hit them back. I hit them back kind of hard. I got into their systems and I left notes everywhere in every directory I could find saying, please stop doing that. And I left a generic email they could send emails to that wouldn't track back to me. Well, a couple days later, there was an email waiting for me. Someone was rather upset. I had actually hit the wrong IP address. At some point in the IP address, I went through it and I had transposed a couple of the numbers. And this is one of the reasons why I've never been a fan of the idea of hackback, which a lot of governments around the world are trying to espouse at this point, because mistakes really are going to happen. And if you're playing with nation states and that sort of level and you make a mistake, things can go horribly, horribly wrong. But the best part about that mistake was I'm not alone. This is not something that was unique to me. Case in point, I was at a company several years back before I came to my current job at Akamai Technologies, where we had a vendor that was trying to sell us a product. This vulnerability scanning vendor said, look, we can give you a free discovery scan of your entire IP address range and just show you what we can do. And I said, sure, here it is. I looked at it and went, this is a Class B. I said, yes, that's all we have. I was working for a power company at the time. And they took that and they ran through it, and they said, sure, no problem. They scanned the whole thing, gave it back to me. Nice big thick document. I'm flipping through it. I'm like, there's something very wrong here. As I'm going through this document, I'm seeing roughly about 300 printers. I'm like, Shenzhen, Beijing, this isn't mine. They had done exactly the same thing that I did when I did my hackback. They had actually screwed up the IP address and scanned an entire Class B in China. So here I am with all of the data for all kinds of very vulnerable printers in China. And it was really amazing to me because they were like absolutely beside themselves and they were apologizing left, right, and center. I said, no. One, I'm not going to name you. Two, relax. This is a very clear, obvious mistake, but it's something you can learn from. And you can be guaranteed they didn't make that mistake again. And it's one of those things where when these mistakes happen, you have to find your moment of zen. You have to take a moment to breathe, because otherwise we're going to get lost in the lather of, oh my God, things went wrong. Failure isn't something to be afraid of. You have to squeak it down into a very tiny box, because it's going to happen. But learn. Case in point. This may have sound, so I apologize if it's loud. Okay, there we go. This is a video from what was the Tacoma Narrow Bridge years ago. They had taken all this time to build this bridge, and they took in all the data they thought they had available to them, only discovered that there was a strange crosswind that they had not accounted for. As a result, their beautiful beast that they had taken all this time to build turned into this with a slight gust of wind. It was just a very strange twisting of the the frame to the point where it eventually buckled, snapped, collapsed. Thankfully, in this particular case, there was only one fatality, and it was a dog who got trapped in that particular car, actually. But this is one of those things where this was an avoidable problem, and they learned some valuable lessons from it. This is a perfect example of where we have to make sure that we're listening to the information that's being provided to us. This is very much how it feels like with our company, where we move about 30% of the traffic to the internet across our platform. And during that time, we see all kinds of attack traffic. Netflix has a bot that they use on their environment called Chaos Monkey, which will go through and randomly destroy some machines. We have our own version of that called the internet. That's the point. So that was an example of something where it was potentially an avoidable mistake. I don't know all of the details because it's a little bit shrouded in history. But that was something that is an example of things that can happen today. If we do not take in the requisite amount of information or learn from the lessons that are available to us. Now, this is another example of that. This is another example of something that I went through at a company years ago. This was a case where I found a web app in our environment that, as part of my job, I was going through and testing and making sure everything was running well. And this particular application, I had not seen it before because it had not gone through the proper vetting process. We had a gating process before anything went into production. This app, obviously not this particular web page, came to us and I looked at it. First thing I did, view source to see what was going on. And there, commented out in the code, was username and password. I'll say that again, username and password were the administrative credentials for this web application. So I had a meeting with the head of that development team, my boss, the CISO, and myself. We sat down and I said, look, view source, just to make it really clear, source, that right there. So can anybody tell me what the manager of that app dev team said to me at this point? I'll let you off the hook. He said, you hacked my application. I can't even make this stuff up. He literally thought that view source on an application was a hack. And this is one of those problems where I went, oh God, this isn't his failing so much as it's mine. Because I hadn't taken the time to work with his team to say, this is what you shouldn't do, and here's why. Otherwise, this becomes a problem. This was his reaction. And I was absolutely beside myself. I couldn't believe it. But that was just it. It wasn't so much I couldn't believe what he did as I had not taken the time to properly educate him and his team so that they wouldn't do these sort of things. So when these sort of things happen in your environment, you have to make sure that you don't do this. Because this, by and large, usually is our first reaction to go, are you out of your mind? But unfortunately, that doesn't help you or them. You have to really take a step back, take a deep breath, go to your place of Zen, and realize that this is something that we have to take the time to learn from at this point. Because this was a mistake that didn't have to happen yet again. Otherwise, they'll keep happening. So one company that I was working for, I had a very long talk with the project manager there. At one point, I prided myself on the pelts of the project managers I had stapled to the wall in my office. And this is one where the application dev team, a different team, had done what I asked them to do to protect their application, but as soon as I left, this happened. So I got a call about a week after I left the company, and my coworker said, you're not going to believe what they did. As soon as I was out the door, they reversed all the controls I had put in place. At the top of this URL, I know it's almost impossible to see, but the variable at the end is /etsy/password. This was a publicly facing web page where we were able to dump out all the credentials. Oh, but wait, there's more. Not only could you do it to that file, you could do it to any file in that system. You could browse any file on this production system that was facing the internet. Luckily enough for that particular company, they did not end up in the press for this one, and I was just amazed. But this is one of those things where you have to understand that no matter what kind of tools you build for people, no matter what kind of things you give them to use in their daily jobs, they're going to use them in new and exciting ways that you never imagined were possible. And if you don't get in front of it, they're going to think tools like this are helpful. This tells you nothing. Thankfully, this company went away, but this is just one example of many. This is not something that is going to provide you any real benefit. The real frightening thing is how many times I've seen stuff like this in security operations centers. They'll have it up on a monitor, and literally the pew-pew map doesn't tell you anything. You need to become uncomfortable in your own skin. Now, as security practitioners, no matter what your role is, if you are comfortable, if you're getting to work in the morning, you just sit down, you have your cup of coffee, and that's the most stressful thing in your morning, you have to realize at that point, you have really gotten into a comfortable rut. You want to challenge yourself. You want to move beyond that, because if you don't, you're not going to grow. You're going to be stuck in that same position. And you know what? You might be happy doing that, and that's totally fine as well. But if you want to progress in your career, you have to take challenges. You have to get outside of your skin. You need to be able to sit down and reevaluate what it is that you want from your career. What is it you want to do? Or my favorite thing that I always say to my kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? Apparently my daughter wants to design spaceships, very cool, and my son wants to be Hulk. So, we're still working on that. But this is one of those things where you really have to sit down, and as something as trite as it may sound like, let's sit down and write down, what do you want to do? What do you like doing? What do you absolutely hate doing in your daily job? And look at it and realize you may have actually answered your own question if it's time to move on to a position somewhere in the organization or in another organization, or, oh wow, this is actually going really well. How can you improve from that point? Because failures are going to happen in your career. You also want to look at what kind of tools you have. One thing that I used to do is I used to constantly battle with project managers, because in a couple of my roles in 2 different organizations, my job was the gate. So any product or project that was coming into production had to go through my team, and we had to evaluate it from a security perspective. This was a painful existence, but it was one of those things where I had to go through it, and I realized in order for myself to improve, I had to start speaking their language. And this is where a case where I went off and I got my PMP, Project Management Professional designation. And this is not trumpeting for the cert in particular, but it forced me to learn their language, their lingua franca, how it was they operated, and what was important to them. And this was something that was a huge win for me, because I was able to have fewer and fewer bolts on my wall, because I was able to articulate my concerns in ways they would understand. For example, if you run into the C-suite saying, oh my goodness, this 0 day is out, my hair is on fire, we have to look at this now, the C-suite's not going to pay attention. You have to articulate it in terms of risk, something that they're going to understand. If you can't quantify it as to what is the risk to the organization, how much money you're going to lose if something goes wrong, they're not going to listen. So it's incumbent upon you to actually take the time to learn from lessons of mistakes like I did, because I've done exactly that, where I ran in with my hair on fire. It's something you don't have to do. Take a step back, learn their lingua franca, so you can actually help them understand your concerns. Now, as you're building in your career, you want to make sure you're building a solid foundation. You don't want to, build a house on shifting sands, much like this particular place in Shanghai, China, which this actually happened in 2009. That's an unfortunate thing. Thankfully, nobody was home at the time of this. But it's a brand new building built, lack of proper foundation. Much the same way as our careers. We don't have a proper foundation. We don't have a proper understanding. We are severely limiting ourselves. And when you limit yourselves, problems like this happen. Now the graphic actually has absolutely nothing to do with the story, but I just love this graphic because people always say that we spend too much time on our mobile devices. It seems to be a habit that goes through time. So in this particular case, I was actually at Black Hat in Las Vegas, and I was walking down the hall first thing in the morning, and my phone starts ringing. And we had a consultant that had come on site for us at our day job to install the system. And this was my second, and he's like, you're not going to believe this. Okay, what's going on? The consultant, who we were paying 2,000 Canadian for at the time, which at that time was a significant sum of money years ago, had come in, sat down, and opened the manual, page 1. This was a consultant that we were paying $2,000 a day for, Canadian. And he hadn't even read the manual. He'd come in completely unprepared. Unfortunately for him, his job was terminated before the day was out, because I had a rather serious chat with his manager. But this is one of those things where if you're going to be engaged on a project, either as a consultant or in terms of your own organization, do your homework before you get there. Because this is a failure he could have learned from many, many others before him, but there was a complete disconnect, and he was unable to actually accept that. Things can and will go wrong. Now, as you go through, you want to be able to say, I took a shot. I took the time to set up a B-sides. Thank you, Greg. One of the things that I run into a lot of people, by a lot of people at different conferences I go to, is like, I want to get into podcasting, or I want to write for a publication. How did you do it? Literally, I just started. Didn't ask permission, I just started doing it. My own website, liquidmatrix.org, is actually coming up on 20 years online. And then literally was born out of the case of, I was at one of my first jobs in this field, and I would bring articles to the team at work, and they're like, this is fantastic, where did you find this? And I would literally find articles from the dark web and all the rest of it before it was called dark web. And I would share it. It was just born out of information sharing. And it grew from there. And out of that grew a podcast, grew me writing for various publications like Forbes and formerly CSO Online. And the only advice I can give to people from that is to take your time to take a shot. Just start doing it. There's really nothing to limit you other than yourself at that particular time. And when people say they can't do it, I say, have you seen my field where I grow all of my right there? Now, with social media and various other types of echo chambers, a lot can get lost in the background noise, and we have a bad habit of getting lost in that. We as security practitioners have to pull ourselves away from the daily drama and, really pay attention to what's important. Things like building community events, building podcasts, building anything that can share information back and spend less time about, who's more elite than who else. That sort of thing garners no positive outcome. And when we do get lost in that, we tend to spiral into very dark places. And when we do that, we miss the fine details. And when we miss those fine details, things badly happen. So here's an idea. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's one of the things that I learned early on, and it was sheerly out of, I had to take a chance. You have to do that. You have to be able to reach out and ask for help when you're in trouble. Don't go down swinging if you don't have to. Because if you do, something like this could happen. That's not to beat up on this particular company, but literally a day before I gave a talk in New Orleans, this happened. It's a data security company, and their entire database is on their front page. I have no idea how that transpired, but it was absolutely timely. We want to actually keep all the security information to ourselves typically. And one of the things is we get lost in the silos. We have to stop doing that. We have to break out of our silos. We have to become uncomfortable. Go talk to project managers. Go talk to your procurement team. Go talk to your HR team. If you can bake security into all those aspects of the organization that you're working in, your job's actually going to get easier over time. And you need to be able to trust your team because you're not alone in this. And if you don't ask for help, you're going to run aground. You need to be able to cut the tether and let go of your perceptions or your preconceived notions. One of the things that I learned very early on, in the midpoint of my career, I was controlling an IDS system for an organization as well as other types of security things. And my mentor at the time said the most beautiful thing to me. He said, you have to learn to let go. You have to be able to take that system and give it to somebody else and walk away from it. Because literally, when you do that, it's rather a very freeing thing. And I was afraid to give it up because I was afraid it would fail. I was afraid things would go horribly wrong. I didn't want patch management folks to touch it because I didn't trust them. And this was my failure. And by being able to let go of these systems and let other people take them over, I was able to get on to new and exciting things. And I'm really happy that I learned that lesson. You want to find a balance in your work-life career. That's always a cliche that we love to hear about. But then it really is possible. You have to be able to get up and move away from the computer. At one point when I was living in the United States, I was a single guy living in Washington, D.C., and at one point I started breaking into systems for fun and profit. And I started working on something at night. Next thing I know, my eyes were hurting. And I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. I was rubbing my eyes, and I was staring at the screen, and squinting. The sun had come up. I hadn't actually realized that I had been working all night long, and I now had the sunlight shining in my eyes. And I had about 30 minutes to get to work asleep. I wasn't very productive that day. I hadn't struck a balance. You have to learn to step away from it. Now, in your career, are you a planner or are you a gambler? Are you planning what you want to do 5 years down the road? Now, whenever you're in a job interview and they say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Nobody ever has a good answer. And historically, neither have I. But if you're taking the time to plan what we want to do next, the likelihood of success in your career is actually rises rather significantly. And I was pointing recently to several studies, which heaven forbid I actually include in this, because that would have made sense. But as I'm reading these studies, it's like, yeah, people that actually take the time to plan what they want to do in their career are far more successful overall. If you don't have a solid plan, things can go very wrong. But you can take chances, as long as you have a framework to work within. So a perfect example of this, when I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, is because, well, I was on a training course in Texas, and there was a young lady who sat down at the computer in front of me, and I promptly broke into her computer and said hi, and took over her screen. And we started chatting back and forth. And from that point, we turned into a relationship, and I moved down to the States. Unfortunately, the relationship ended before the plane landed, but I stayed. And I continued on with that job, and it was a great opportunity, and I had taken a chance. I had a framework in place in that I had a job, I had everything lined up, and just because that one piece of the puzzle didn't work out, I was able to power through, and it became a very successful career move for me. And you have to understand that you're not always going to win. Things are going to go wrong, but the thing is, we'll survive. We'll move on, we'll improve from this point. And every time you fail, the business builds success. You think inventors get things right on the first time? No, they absolutely don't. And when I talk about sharing lessons that on my site that I built, this is how I built it originally, and this was actually built with stolen source code from Hacker News Network at the time, which was a spin-off of the blog. And I told them that years later, and they thought that was absolutely funny. So I just took their code, and I would literally share articles. This was before there was WordPress or any other thing like that. And it was really a fun experience, especially going through the logs and seeing all the different law enforcement and militaries that were reading the site on a daily basis back then. And as we go through, and just realize that this thing is still around, this is something that we built, and no, I'm not running anymore. This is something that I built, and it was purely on an altruistic endeavor. So, things don't always work out the way you're going to expect them. There's a law of unintended consequences. The Morris worm is a perfect example of this. This was code that was never meant to get out into the wild, but it did. Things went horribly, horribly wrong. Now, this I see as one of the turning points for InfoSec people overall, is that we look at things as an adversarial relationship, that they us versus them. And I really look at Morris worm as really about that time where things started to change that way. And if we align ourselves against ourselves, we become our own worst enemies. This is something that we can avoid. We have to do a better job of communicating to all the other parts of the organization, as well as beyond that, because we can't assume that people already know the answer. Because when you make assumptions, things like this happen, where a commentator on CNN was talking about how all of these celebrities had their pictures hacked by a hacker named 4chan. Let that sink in for a second. All right, so a couple of word stories. One thing that really got me was I was working at one organization, it was a global footprint, bless you, a global footprint, and we literally had offices around the world. And in one particular office, we had a problem where we were getting letters from RIA and MPAA saying, your company is downloading hack and crack movies. No, we looked at all the firewall logs. It's not right. Finally, we realized that we had something very wrong in this one location because everything seemed to track back to this one location. We had our guy in the region go to this office, and he walked into the server room, and no kidding, they had actually taken the time to build a stub network off the edge router that was bypassing our firewall entirely, and then linking back into the corporate network. Because these guys were so intent on downloading crack movies, they built an entire stub network off that. This was an abject failure, but the failure wasn't only on them for downloading these crack movies, the failure was on us because we were watching all the right things. We weren't watching, the router was. You have so many systems on your network that are talking to you. The question is, are you listening? Now, one organization that I worked at, we had a WordPress breach. So this was a WordPress install that was part of a marketing stub site that was hanging off our network, and this is before I ever got to my current day job. And that one had 192 user accounts on it. It was popped and ended up on the front page of all kinds of newspapers. Now, the backstory for that particular one was, this was a site that was identified by the security team, and we said, look, you have to take this down. They said, yeah, no problem, it's a deprecated site. We're going to take it offline. Fantastic. The failure was, we didn't follow up with them. They left it there. It got compromised. It had no ties into the rest of the organization, but that didn't matter because it was in the media. It had our name on it. The reputational risk was real. And this was a failure on our part that we didn't close that particular loop. But I learned a lesson. Another example was one company I was working at. We had originally been a large company. It was split into 5 separate organizations. This particular organization, we had a problem with a routing issue. We went through and there's something wrong here. We couldn't figure out what it was, so we went out on the shop floor and we started lifting tiles. The third tile I lifted up, I looked down, and there's a Cisco router blinking back at me under the floor. This was a Cisco router that was tied back into one of the other organizations that had become pretty much a competitor at that time. But luckily, they didn't know it was there either. So we had an interconnect between the two companies, and because we didn't have proper documentation or understanding as to what was going on, that remained for years before we ever found it, which was actually somewhat mind-boggling in itself. So this was a case where we had to share that lesson within our own organization. And this is something that you can take away as well, is every time you find something like a hobgoblin, like a router where it shouldn't be, and things like that, you have to learn from these particular lessons. Because we're going to fail. We're going to grow, and we're going to learn from these things, and we will get through this collectively because we can do it. And one of the things that really gets me is I never expected I would find a moment of zen in a Marvel movie, but this was it in Doctor Strange. Apologies if you haven't seen the movie yet. But there's one point when the Ancient One says it's not about you. And that's just it. It's about all of us. This is something that we can take and learn from, because as we fail, we grow. And we have to share those lessons. We can step off the eternal return. Thank you all for listening. I really appreciate the opportunity.